Hi there, I'm Denver, and I am a senior 2D character animator at the Vancouver Institute of Media Arts, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience going into quarantine and isolation and working from home. So working remotely as an animator isn't actually too different, because most of the time it's grueling, head down, in the monitor, working. I think the main difference is we're not surrounded by our classmates. We can't just immediately turn and ask, oh, what do you think of this? You have to hit screen share and get someone's attention. Thankfully with Zoom, we can still get a hold of our instructors really quickly and get reviews, which is great. Honestly, I've still improved drastically within these couple of months. I try not to think about, oh, but if I was at school, maybe it would have been more. I think it's about equal, and I think it's better to think that way. But even without the instructors immediately with us, you can still talk to them and they'll still give you lots of advice. I've gotten loads of drawing advice. Basically all of my instructors have given me really, really concrete advice, both at the school and remotely. I think the biggest thing that pops out to me in regards to improvement is my digital practice, actually. I ran out of my pencils and my newsprint while we were doing our life drawing live streaming, and I just didn't buy more. I decided, since my friend had gifted me her old Cintiq, that I would try to use that as much as I could. Might as well take advantage of the technology that I have, and being able to work in a digital program really, really helped me to experiment with that program a lot more, and it just furthered my knowledge of it. And I just know these programs a little bit more than I normally would have, which is really cool. And being able to produce drawings that have a similar essence to how you would draw on paper digitally is really nice, and that shows some really strong improvement, I think. So because I have all my equipment here, and a lot of us had our equipment from the school sent home, my setup is really, really similar to the one at the school, so I didn't need them to come and bring in the monitors and the drawing tablet. Because I already have this at home, and because even regularly I like to draw, I like to paint and sculpt and whatever, in my downtime, I just draw anyway, so I've started animating, hand-drawn or with rig, just on my free time. And in that sense, because it's so accessible, otherwise I'd have to get on transit and go down to the school, because this is so accessible, I animate way more than I think I would have, so that's drastically improved my skill as an animator, which is actually really cool. I mean, everyone's kind of different when it comes to motivation, but there are some kind of universal things that are really, really important. So staying motivated while you're learning is really, really important, because you're absorbing as much knowledge as possible and putting it into practice. So being unmotivated is a huge killer to the process of learning. So one of the, I guess, bigger things I've done, even though it's not very big, curating my little desk setup was really important. I've got all of my immediate papers that I need, so just like loose printer paper so that I can draw like instantly. I've got this is my final term, it's a little crunchy, but this is my schedule for the last few weeks of the term, so that I know what day I'm on, I know what I'm doing. I can write down what I've done so I can keep track of everything. This really keeps me motivated, so because it shows how little time I really have to work. Basically setting things up so that working is easy and you don't have to rummage through things. You don't have to rummage through a backpack to find your pencils. I have all of my pencils, brushes, scissors, erasers, whatever I need is right here. I have a bunch of figures here that keep me motivated, because I love either the figure itself is really beautiful and inspires me, or the content of the figure is really important. When this first happened, I watched a very detailed YouTube video by CGP Grey called Lockdown Productivity. What is it? Spaceship U. He basically goes over curating spaces for very specific things so that you don't associate your workspace with relaxation or with eating or whatever else. Because I do my schooling and my work as an artist, and then most of my downtime is either also being an artist or playing video games, the space that I have set up is all-encompassing. I do all of those things at this space. So we just got some lights. This one is a warm light, warm yellow light. And then we have another light that's presently on that's white, bright light. So when we are working, I turn on this white light so that signifies, okay, we're in a workspace, we've got this white light, so everything's very clean and efficient. And then at the end of the day, we turn off that light, we turn on the warm light, and that signals time to relax, you're cozy, you're at home, and it's time to unwind. And that's really important, because when you can't physically distinguish your workspace from your relaxed space and sometimes your eating space, things can get really sloppy really fast, and it's kind of a slippery slope to, oh, well, I can just wear my pajamas. Don't always change. Another thing that kind of keeps me going is knowing that this situation is temporary, although I may go into the working industry, still working from home, and it might be a while before we have a vaccine, but it's not truly the end of the world. It's not the end of humanity. Civilization will continue after this. We just have to wait, and it's temporary, and that's okay. And we basically moved into a new semester right as the lockdown started. So we did all of our dialogue assignments from home, and we did animal body mechanics, which was super, super fun. We had the option of building a rig for that, so that we can animate it, and I loved the process of rig building, so that was super fun for me. I really got to play around with style and how style can work with rigs. We're building a stylistic rig, a heavily stylistic rig. Heavily encouraged to build your own rig and to really, really play with the capabilities of it. We've moved on from our third semester into our fourth semester, so we're now doing our student films and our show reels. I built 2 different rigs for my student film, and it's super cool to work on an enclosed film like that, because you get to play every single role in your animation pipeline. So you start with your early concepts and you work on the story, you get to do design, you get to do environment design and asset creation, rig building, background painting, effects, animation, you get to do all of it. So that really opens you up to all the different roles that you could be thinking about as you're moving towards graduation and potentially looking for jobs. So overall, although certain things are not present, I suppose, I've still learned a ton. I'm sure everyone in my class has learned a ton. Despite not being around our instructors or around each other, we still learn a ton through our Zoom calls. We still get to interact very often, and there's certain benefits to working at home. So thank you so much for giving us a watch, and happy learning!